Now I am. Good afternoon. I'm Cindy Snodgrass. I'm one of the Trinity District co-lay leaders. And with me today is Janeen Hill. She's the pastor of Fowler, Manzanola, and Olney Springs United Methodist Churches. And we're here to talk about a petition that is going before annual conference in a couple of weeks. This petition grew out of our listening sessions that D3 had, the district discipleship team had last year. And one of the concerns was the cost of insurance on our local churches and our smaller churches in rural areas. And Janeen, Pastor Janeen, has been, was working on this with the Fowler Church to make some changes with our insurance coverage. And so we asked her to work with our team to put together a petition. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So Janeen, tell us what issue you encountered that led you to air your concerns about the church insurance.
Where do I begin? Actually, one of the smaller churches I serve spends 25% of its annual budget on insurance. And our search for another insurance company that might cost less was really difficult. Local insurance agents could not meet the minimum requirements, and their evaluation of the church property was often lower than the value that Conference and Church Mutual put on the property. So every question we asked seemed to raise 2 or 3 more questions, and it seemed to me there should be a better way to handle this. So when D3 came to me, I said, sure, I'll try and put a petition together.
So what is the petition asking the conference trustees to do?
As it's written right now, we want them to add a 4th tier of coverage, which I'll talk about in a minute, to review and amend the minimum requirements for insurance coverage, for the trustees to pay half of the cost of an appraisal if a church requests one, for the trustees to negotiate with Church Mutual to reset valuations, replacement cost estimates, and premiums to be more in line with actual local conditions, and to give all churches annually a listing of insurance requirements that allow churches more option, either limited or broader coverage. Now, having said that, we anticipate that the petition will change as we discuss it at annual conference. And the district committee has been having talks with members of the conference board of trustees about their concerns with the petition. So the final petition, when it's voted on, may look very different than it does now.
Could you talk about the issue of replacement costs versus property value and why this is unique in our rural and small member churches?
Well, the property value, like the assessor's value or an appraisal, may not really provide an accurate replacement cost value. They could be 2 different numbers. And right now, the perception is that the replacement cost values that we're getting are arbitrary and not based on church location and other local factors. And for rural and small member churches making decisions on how to spend our limited funds, this can really impact their budgets. And I think that's true for urban churches as well.
The petition asks that a 4th tier of coverage be added. Why is that?
When we looked at the General Conference, the General Council on Finance and Administration, the GCFA, which is the global level of church operations, their minimum insurance requirements in a lot of areas are lower than what our conference requires. And there may be valid reasons for that based on past losses here in our conference. And so we're asking that a tier offering that lower minimum coverage be made available.
There's been talk that the cost of this petition will affect the conference mission shares. How is the cost of accurate how is it that the cost of accurate property appraisals is paid for?
Well, what we're asking in the petition is that the trustees would pay half the cost of an appraisal. But the Conference Council on Finance and Administration, after they looked at the budget and looked at the petition, they think that paying for appraisals risks depleting the trustees' funds, especially if all the churches in the conference ask for an appraisal in the same year. But I don't think it's going to affect mission shares any. The trustees have a reserve fund that those would come from. And you can read the CFA's comments on the petition.
And where can people get a copy of the petition to review?
The petition will be on the conference website, mtnskyumc.org, under the annual conference welcome page, if you click on rules, petitions, and elections. And this petition is numbered 30, so it's MSC 30. And it should be up, I would think, by the end of October 1st. And I'd like to also mention that every church can have a voting lay delegate at annual conference, even if you're sharing a pastor with another church. So I would invite you, if you have not registered a lay delegate from every single church, or if your pastor hasn't registered, I want to encourage you to do so, because it's really important that the laity of the conference have a voice in these decisions that affect their churches, not on just this petition, but on everything that's going to be discussed at conference.
And I would add that the Trinity District still has openings for equalization delegates, laity delegates under the equalization clause. And I know that most of the $40 cost of the registration will be waived if you're an equalization delegate. If you're interested in that, you can contact the district office, Trinity District office, or you could actually email me, Cindy Snodgrass. My email is rodsnod, RODSNOD, @outlook.com, and I'll be glad to get your request to be a delegate passed on to the correct people. So we really welcome the laity of Trinity and all the other districts. By the way, our co-sponsors are the lay members from Montana East, Montana West, and the Wyoming districts. So this is a multi-district enterprise. We thank you very much for your attention and blessings on all of you. And I hope your days and weeks are blessed. Thanks.
Peace.